Hi, welcome back. This is part 2 of our series on firearm basics for self-defense. If you didn't see the previous video where I talked about gun safety and how to not accidentally shoot yourself, go back, pause this, open a new browser tab or whatever on your phone, go watch the previous video because that's important. In this video, we're talking about the basic parts of a pistol. We're going to go over any firearm. In general, you've got 3 parts to any firearm. Okay, for a pistol, first part is the barrel. Now, this is a tube that the bullet goes down. It holds gas pressure from the burning gunpowder. The back of the barrel, as you can see exposed there, is called the chamber. The front of the barrel over at this end is called the muzzle. And yes, I'm using an airsoft gun to demonstrate a lot of this because there's no reason for me to actually be using a real firearm when an airsoft gun can demonstrate all this stuff just fine without any sort of added risk. So that's your barrel. The next part of the gun is generically referred to as the action. Now, the action is the part of the gun that will move our cartridge or bullet or round into the barrel, fire it, and then eject it afterwards. Now, the actions will vary a lot based on the different type of firearm. In the case of pistols, we have a lot of internal parts here. We're not going to get into that. You also have this top piece is called the slide. And when you fire, that will move back and forth with every shot. It will move forward to load a bullet into the back of, or cartridge round, whatever, into the back of the barrel. And then after you fire, it will move back to allow the cartridge to eject. And since this is a semi-automatic pistol, it will also occasionally referred to as an auto loader. After you fire, it will move forward again to load the next round. So every time you pull the trigger, it goes bang, eject the spent round, chamber the next round, and you're ready to pull the trigger again and it'll go bang again. Now, on all firearms, you also have some sort of grip. On a traditional rifle, they're going to call this the stock. On a pistol, we call this the frame in most cases. This is a polymer framed handgun. This is a Glock 19 airsoft replica. But this bottom piece here is called the frame. Now this contains parts of the action in here. It contains the trigger. It contains our magazine and our magazine releases there. So there's our basic parts for a handgun, or any firearm, is your action, your barrel, your grips, or stock. And in the case of a handgun, that can be subdivided again into our slide and our frame. Now let's go over a few more pieces in a little more detail. Let me come back with the magazine. Okay. One thing, I'm using an airsoft replica to demonstrate this, but the principle applies to a real firearm just as well. I just don't want to use a real firearm for training purposes. Okay, so we're going to go over a few other parts. I'm going to flip this the other way. That we'll see here. First off, that is the magazine release, that little button there. We should talk about magazine. So, a magazine, this is a real one. It's a magazine. The purpose of this is to load your ammunition into your firearm. This one is specifically a box magazine. You don't need to know about that. But it's a way to get the ammunition into the action so that it can be loaded into the firearm. In this case, we're just taking the ammo out. Okay. Our magazine is basically going to consist of a body that holds it all together, a spring-loaded piece here called a follower. That's spring-loaded to push the ammunition up, and a base plate on the bottom which just keeps it all from falling out the bottom. And you can disassemble these. Some people clean them. Clearly, as you can tell by the dust, I don't. And this is normally one of my carry magazines. But, magazine. Back to our airsoft gun. We've got a button here called the magazine release. Now, most pistols, it'll be there. Some pistols are ambidextrous or have it reversible, so it'll be on the other side. Generally, it's on your left side of the gun. If you're left-handed, you can switch it. Some European guns, Walther specifically, instead of it being a button here, they will actually make a lever that attaches to the bottom of the trigger guard and rotates down to release the magazine. But either way, the basic idea is the magazine goes into the grip to load your ammunition, and when you want to take that magazine out, you push the button and the magazine falls out. So just push the button, out it comes. Now, on some pistols, you push the button and it goes a little ways out, and it'll come down to, say, there, and then you just grab it with your hand and pull it out. Personally, I like pistols that'll drop them free. A lot of pistols, I'm looking at Glock specifically, don't necessarily drop them all the way free, and sometimes you have to grab them and pull them out. But generally, they'll drop free. And that button there is our magazine release. Next thing you need to be aware of is the slide lock, which is that piece there. And some people call this a slide release, some people call it a slide lock. If you want to know what it's called on a specific model of firearm, look up in the manual, because every manufacturer seems to use different terms. And what this will do is allow you to lock the slide open. So normally, if you just pull the slide back and let go, it's under spring tension to push it forward. If you want to actually lock it open, let's flip it around. If you want to lock it open so that you can see into the barrel and make sure it's unloaded, you pull back the slide. I'm going to use 2 hands for this. Pull back the slide and then push up on the slide release and let go. And that will lock the slide back. So slide release, slide lock, whatever. In order to allow the slide to go forward again, there's 2 different ways you can do this. Either you can push down on the slide release, which is fairly easy to do on an airsoft gun. On a real firearm, that takes a lot of force, and I wouldn't really recommend it. The other way you can do it is pull back, watch the slide release as I do this. Pull back slightly on the slide, which takes tension off the slide release, and it drops down automatically, and then you just let go of the slide, and it goes forward. Generally, if you're going to move the slide forward, I would recommend you do it by just grabbing the back of the slide and letting it go, instead of trying to push down on this tiny little button. 2 reasons for that. First off, under stress, your brain is not going to do fine motor manipulation skills like pushing down on that with one finger with a huge amount of force, whereas your brain will easily go, grab the big thing and pull it. Caveman mode, it works. And then even for manipulating at a shooting range, when you're not under stress, why train to push down on this tiny little button when you know under stress you're going to grab the whole thing and just rack it back? Kind of, it's one of those you want to train the way you're going to use it. It's also worth mentioning on pretty much all semi-automatic pistols, let me get the magazine out, will lock the slide back after you fire at the last round. So, let's do it. Once again, this is an airsoft gun, no ammunition loaded in this. For the YouTube videos, you'll see there are no BBs in there. We're just using this for demonstration purposes. When you fire at the last round and you're out of ammunition, what will happen is the slide will lock all the way to the rear. In order to get that fully forward again. Obviously, put in more ammunition, or not, and just back it again, and you're back forward. One of the reasons you want to be aware of this, though, especially when you're going to purchase a firearm for the first time, is usually they'll hand you a gun with a magazine out of it, or sometimes in it, at the store, and like you go, hey, there's a magazine in there. You try to release the slide, it doesn't go, because the slide, or the empty magazine, blocks it open. So if you want to get the slide forward, and you're not actually loading ammunition, take the magazine out. And it doesn't have to be all the way out, you can just go out a little bit, and then close. Then you put your magazine back in, or not. So those are our basic parts and operation of the pistol. Now, for cleaning and takedown, read the manual, we'll talk about that later.